Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
Yeah. Oh my. How are y'all doing? Welcome back to the Journeyman Chronicles. Episode 59 is right here for your enjoyment. Listen, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I am on the struggle bus. The name of the bus is Zyrtec, and I'm hoping that the bus takes me from point A to point B. Point A being in the midst of this war with pollen, and point B being far, far away where I can breathe a lot easier. My God, am I struggling. I'll be 44 next week, and I feel like since my mid-30s, seasonal allergies have become a thing for me. So I don't know if you can tell from how I sound, but trust me, this is leaps and bounds of improvement from where I was 2 days ago. So, this is dedicated to anybody who's dealing with some seasonal allergies. Pollen is extremely high right now, as they say. I feel like they say that every year. But, that yellowy powder shit all over your vehicle in the morning, you got to wash that off because it's making you sad. It's making me sad. Think of the line from Mobb Deep. There's a war going on outside no one is safe from. Yeah, that's me right now. There's a war with pollen and people, and I'm one of those people that I'm just not safe from it. I get mollywopped like a motherfucker every year around this time, and every year it's a little bit harder, and this year is woo. So anyway, I had to point that out. I had to throw that out there because I sound rough. I'm not going to lie. But anyway, as we say on the Journeyman Chronicles, it is what it is. The show must go on. And so here we go. How are you? How has your week been? With the exception of the allergies, mine has been somewhat bearable. Once again, my wife's family had to say goodbye to a loved one. My wife's other aunt passed away from cancer. Titi Mary passed away. She's battling cancer for some time. And this past Wednesday, we laid her to rest. She passed away a week ago today. I'm recording this on a Saturday. And so that's just, generally speaking, that's what's been going on here. It's been rough, with the passing of my dad, and now my wife having to, along with her family, say goodbye and bury two of her aunts. 3 funerals in 3 months is what it's come down to for us, my wife and I. So it's been tough, and all 3 are in the same cemetery, and so the recession line, it's like deja vu 2 times over, because it was the same way, same direction, same cemetery. It's been weird. I've gone years and years in between funerals, maybe even a decade at one point, and now I've got 3 in 3 months. So it's been tough to say the least. And just speaking for my wife and her family, I'm sure that they're very grateful and thankful for all of the love and support that they have received from their family and friends and those that knew Rosa. It's just been tough. It's been tough. And it's bittersweet with the beginning of the season. You're feeling the vibes of new life and you have to say goodbye to a life. And so, but one of the things I'm learning, my wife and I both, is acknowledging that there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do when you lose somebody. There's only so much you can do. That you have to embrace that it has changed you forever. And so, you know, we move on together. And I hope that that you all have an opportunity to discover that in your trials and tribulations, there's only so much you can do. Eventually, you have to accept that it has changed you and embrace it and let it become a part of you. And with that, we move on now. Episode 59. Guess who I'm talking to this week? I'm talking to Danielle Beattie. I came across Danielle Beattie on my Instagram and TikTok feed. Danielle is a real estate agent, and she's not just your average, run-of-the-mill real estate agents. She's embracing the social media aspect of putting your game on display and getting your name out there through social media. That's how I came across her on the reels, So I messaged her, asked her to drop by on the Journeyman Chronicles, and she did. Real cool lady, real cool. She's just dope and funny. Let me just put it out there. Real laid back. I didn't really have to feel like I was having to pull anything out of her. Just easy to talk to. She's got a great personality. She wasn't scared or intimidated by the camera or the mic. And when you get that type of energy, it's easy to work with that. So I had a lot of fun with Danielle. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. And with that, we kick off episode 59. I'm getting close to 60. I'm one away. For those that just can't add. Anyway, I don't know why I said that. Let's get right to it. This is Danielle's journey, and these are the Journeyman Chronicles. Let's go. So anyway, enough about me. Let's get to know you.
All right.
Danielle, how do you pronounce your last name? Forgive me.
Beattie.
Beattie. Okay, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. So Danielle Beattie. I reached out to you. I actually saw your reels on Instagram. That's how I got hip to you. And it was actually Instagram and TikTok at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and I want to get into this. This is one of the things I'm really intrigued about. But the reels are so good that I was like, oh wow, it's another dope realtor reel. And then I was like, oh wait, she's here in Lancaster.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting, somewhere in Vermont or LA or, and the reason why I say this is because the reels they're good.
Thank
and
you.
there's so many. So my question is, and obviously there's way different avenues I want to talk about, but being a realtor using social media, that isn't an easy thing. I'm using social media for what I'm doing, and I know it's not easy.
No, not at all.
So talk to me about what are you reinventing the real wheel, so to speak, where you're just like, I've done this already. Let me do this now.
Yeah. So my whole thing with the reels was like, okay, people are not engaging with pictures anymore.
Yeah.
Like Instagram went from this place where you could just post photos and you could post pictures that were unedited and people didn't care about any of that stuff. And then you get to this point in time where everybody wants to edit and Photoshop and everything has to be, this perfect put together thing, where I was like, I'm not a perfect put together person, but I enjoy talking.
Yeah.
I enjoy being in front of the camera. I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't make me nervous, but I'm going to have fun with it, first off. And I started jotting down ideas in my notes in my phone. And I was like, okay, this is like a really great thing. And my whole thing with real estate is that I want to be the realtor that educates people. I want people to say, well, Danielle really taught me something throughout this whole entire process. And even afterwards, if I have a question, I know that I can ask her. And even if she doesn't know it, she will get it to me.
Yeah.
And that was something that was so important to me. And I want to educate people in a fun way, in a way that they'll actually engage with the content. Because if you're just sitting there and you're like, you know, telling them something in a, you know, monotonous tone, and you're you know, people don't want to listen to that. Like, so I was like, you know what? I'll use these fun trending sounds to put up educational content. I'll use these, you know, fun songs that, you know, even though it's songs from like when I was younger that are coming into like trend now, I'll use these little remixes that they have, and I'll make something out of it to educate people, and to also just, you know, play around, have a little bit of fun, show people what we actually do as realtors, because it is a lot of stuff that we go through, and just kind of show people like that I'm relatable, for one. You know, I bought my first house last year, and so I've gone through the process, and I was in the same shoes as, you know, these people that I'm talking to, and within my age range of the late 20s to early 30s, this is when most people are buying their first homes now.
Sure. So
I can really engage with people that are in a position that I was already in, and in a position that I know they're going to be looking to be in the near future.
Gotcha. So when the venture of getting into real estate entered your mind, were you already aware of how you wanted to approach it through social media, or was it like, I'm a realtor, I'm doing it, oh hey, this isn't working? Okay, yeah,
for sure. Because when I started out, I didn't know much about real estate other than what I saw on HGTV, and I am like an HGTV junkie.
Gotcha.
I love watching HGTV. I love watching all those flip shows and the home improvement shows, and I was always into that stuff. So my husband actually said to me, because I started out as a chef. So my husband said to me,
I wasn't expecting that.
My husband said, you know, you'd be really great at real estate. You know, you like talking to people, and I think that you could do that. And so I was like, you think so? And he was like, just go for it. Just try it out. See what happens. And I was like, cool, I'm going to try it out.
Yeah.
And so I went and I took the classes, and that's like, you know, you get the basics, you get the real estate law and all of that, like basic stuff, but nobody tells you how to actually do the job when you're in these classes. You know, most of the teachers are also real estate agents themselves.
Either so you have it or you don't.
You don't, yeah. And they're your, you know, the teachers are your competition, essentially.
Fair enough, yeah.
So they're not going to just give you all the tips and tricks and tools to do the job well. And what worked for the old school agents, but what worked for them and like, you know, doing things on paper
Times
and like
change.
it doesn't work anymore. Door knocking, nobody wants you to knock on their freaking door.
Yeah.
People are like, don't come to my house and knock on my door. So I'm gonna make sure that my presence is seen on your social media every single day then.
Yeah.
And at first I was like doing what the old school people were doing. Like I was door knocking, and you know, people hated that. I was getting hate text messages from neighbors.
Wow.
Yeah, like, don't ever solicit on my property again. And I'm like, oh my God, people are first off crazy, but
I mean, I can understand not answering the door.
Yes,
that's what I do.
Don't answer the door. Yeah. Most people have Ring cameras. Like, they look like they're soliciting.
Yeah.
Like,
I see papers in her hand.
yeah. Don't want to hear the spiel. Like, so I was like, man, I need to be more on social media, and I need to be making videos, because that is what's getting the traction. You know, now that we have TikTok, it's like, if you're not on there making videos every single day, you're forgotten.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy.
Several times a day.
Yes. They're like, oh, make 3 videos a day. And it's like, okay, well, I got kids, I got a house, I got a husband, I have 2 dogs. Like, how do you do this? But you can make little 15-second clips or 30-second clips, which also take me like 30 minutes to complete because I'm like, oh, I gotta edit this part out and I gotta do this, and I was, you know, looking at the camera funny, or I was doing this really weird. So I'm like, man, like this is actually like a job in itself.
It is.
Like as a social media personality or presence. But I like to think that it's just me. Like it's just me that people see that, and you know, whoever is for me will join on, and whoever's not will, you know, good riddance.
Yeah, I can get lost down the rabbit hole of the editing part. And there's times where I've just been like, oh, the hell with it. I'm just gonna upload it as is, and it like does way better than, you know, one that I've edited for 30 minutes. So yeah, it's a experience, and you're right, with the family. It's a little challenging trying to find the time. You know, there's times where I'm like, how do I justify that I've been on my phone for, you know, the past 45 minutes and all I've been doing has been editing, you know, 5 seconds, or, you know, but it all goes towards the end result, which is like, how can I get eyes on what I'm doing? And so I'm assuming that it's the same for you. It's like I said, trying to reinvent the wheel of, I'm trying to get eyes on the prize. And you're right. The old way of doing things, it's done. And especially in today's time, like what we have at our hands, at our disposal, if you could use it correctly, there's so much you can do, so much attention you can grab. And I'm sure you know this. How is the experience of the, I don't want to say older generation, but the older way of doing things in your business, in your line of work as a realtor, coupling that with the social media and the technology that's coming in? Are you seeing this wave and this phasing in, phasing out of the old guard to the new guard, so to speak?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think, you know, a lot of the older established agents are like, you know, I don't need to do it because I'm running off of referral business, which is great for them. You know, great. You're running off of referral business, but they're not getting new business. Yeah. They're not getting the younger generation, like 45 and under. Most people are on Instagram. Yeah. You know, or TikTok or some form of social media where they want to see their agent or their potential agent. They want to see a social media presence. They want to see, well, because if you're not on social media, they think you're not even doing anything. Yeah. They think, well, you know, she's not posting every single time she's at a showing, so she must not be doing any. You must not
be that good at what you do. Yes. Really, which is weird.
It is weird.
But
it's
that's
weird.
The game.
It is the game. And I think that, you know, a lot of people are starting to try to get on it now. And I think that's where like a lot of the fall off happens with agents, is because they don't want to stay up with the times, or new agents come on and they think that they're going to just be able to just get business right away. And this is a game where you have to be in front of people all the time. You have to be personable, both on and offline. You have to make sure that people are constantly seeing you, because in Lancaster County alone, there's like 1,500 realtors. Yeah. Like that is an insane amount. I mean, even though there's a lot of people in our county, there's way too many agents. Like there's an influx of agents. So if you're not the one that is constantly online, you're the one that's not getting business. Yeah.
Are you experiencing like the competition then on the flip side, where you've got other, I don't want to say influencer, but on that level of social media-esque caliber type of realtors, where you're like, oh, okay, y'all really stepping your game up?
Yeah, and there's some that are just really, really good, and I'm like, wow. And
like, God damn,
yeah,
really
like why didn't I think of that one first, man? And so some of them are really, really good, and then you know you have other people that just they kind of get on when they feel like, and you know, and that sort of thing. But there are a lot of agents that are maybe like in their like from like the mid 30s to like, you know, like a 25 to mid 30s that are like really, you know, pushing stuff on social media. But you know, I have to give it up to myself that I come with these original ideas, and I try to make things as fun as possible. for people to just see and just kind of get to know me through these reels as well, because I like to have fun. I like to be a fun person. I'm bubbly. I like for people to see that in my content.
Yeah, and well, that's one of the things that I got immediately. And you're very informative and knowledgeable in your area. So your reels are around the bubble that you're working within. You don't ever try. I've never seen anything of yours where I'm like, okay, she's a realtor, but now you're trying to do something else. You're in your lane and you're informative. One of the things that I appreciated about your reels was, I think either the first or second one that I can recall was the reel where your husband's in it with you. What's your husband's name? Forgive me.
Hassan.
You and Hassan, and it starts off with what people think we do when the kids go to sleep. And then it's what we're really doing. And it's just, y'all are just vibing and being goofy with each other and silly. And it was just like, yeah, like that was like immediately. And what I loved about it was, it wasn't a realtor themed reel, but I immediately was like, oh, she's a realtor. Let me see what she's doing. I immediately was drawn. And that's the game where it's just like, we're regular people. Look at us, watch us, but like, I'm not always going to sell you something. I'm just genuinely being me. And because of that, then people are like, oh, okay, boom, the connection's made.
Yes.
And I feel like that's where, through social media, if you can find that balance, regardless of what you're doing. And the reason why I keep bringing that up is because of the podcast. I'm using social media. And so I understand that, okay, I got to study and look up the algorithm, whatever that is, and it changes every day. And I'm listening to podcasts, but at the same time, it's like, but don't get lost in it.
Yes.
Just be yourself, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be a version of yourself. And then when people want to go to Danielle to look at a home, they expect you to be something that you've presented, but you're not really being yourself. Am I making any sense?
Yes, of course,
Yeah.
of course, because you'll see that a lot where agents are on there and they're fun and they're happy and they're this and they're that. And I've talked to some agents that are, they're not the nicest people. And it's like, wow, like you've portrayed this presence on social media, or just not even just agents, just people in general that use social media as a tool to get business. And then you talk to them in person, you're like, wow, you're really different. And I really don't like you.
Yeah.
This is not who I thought you were.
Yeah.
And I like for people to see some of my personal side, because that's who I am all the time. I love to laugh. I love to be goofy. I'm a little bit vulgar at times.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. And, people that want to be, work with me or want to be around me will find me. Those, my people will come, and there's a market out there for everybody, I
Absolutely.
think. So every single person, if they just show their true personality, the people that are drawn to that personality, to your personality, will come to you.
Absolutely.
So I love to show kind of my goofy side sometimes, especially with my husband, because we just laugh constantly. Like that is like the basis of our relationship, is just laughter. And it's the best medicine, they say,
Yeah. If you can't laugh with your spouse or partner, I don't know what's left in the relationship to be had. You know what I mean? Like, some of the best memories I have with my wife is just like, we're just sitting here and it's just like, hey, look at this. And then we just laugh over some dumb shit for like, 20 minutes straight. It's
and
just,
you got the tears coming out of your eyes,
and it's
little
just
snot
us.
bubbles, and you're like, why am I even laughing this hard?
And then you bring it up like the next day. Like it's just funny. And so, yeah, I totally get it. When Hassan brought up doing the realtor work, realty, and you were a chef, can you explain that transition? Because I wasn't expecting you to say, were you actively working as a chef? Or?
So right before I got into real estate, I was actually working for the school district of Lancaster.
Okay.
As a paraeducator.
Gotcha.
I had a friend that was a paraeducator, and he was like, look, Dee, come on. Like, it's great. We'll have a great time. It was not great. I did not have a great time. So I worked for like a behavioral and emotional support program that's a part of SDOL, which nobody really knows about.
Yeah.
And I mean, these kids were troubled. They were super troubled. So it was hard for me because it was I'm an empathetic person. So
Absolutely.
like for me, I was taking it home with me every single day.
And that's got to be hard to not bring it home.
It was difficult. I couldn't sleep sometimes because I was worrying about what was happening to the kids when they went home and that sort of thing. But I was already in the process of getting my real estate license. I had gone to college for culinary arts. So I went to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island for culinary arts. And I went. It was an amazing experience. I loved college. It was fun. I was 7 hours away from my parents.
Oh, yeah.
So that was awesome. As I graduated high school, I graduated from McCaskey at 17. So being a 17-year-old in a completely different state, 7 hours away from your parents, I was partying.
Yeah.
And
you got time to get to me.
Yes.
I got time to do things.
So but the program, the culinary program, was top notch. I learned so much. I had such a great time. But it was a private university and it was $40,000 a year.
Got you. Wow.
So my parents were like, look, you're going to have to do academically amazing so you can get lots of scholarships because next year there ain't no money for you, you know? And I didn't qualify for financial aid. So I was like, man, I have to figure this out. And I was like, I can't stay. So after I was in the middle of my second year and I came home and I was actually coming home for my internship. So we had to choose an internship. Okay. I came home and I worked at a restaurant downtown called Cars Restaurant. Yeah, I was a chef there for about 6 years.
Okay.
And that was a fun, interesting experience. The pay was not good. The hours were crap, but you know, I got to create.
Yeah.
I got to work with my hands. I got to create things. And that was all great. I had I was there for 2 years and then I got pregnant with my first son. And then so I worked all the way up until the day that I had stopped feeling him moving. And I went into labor and delivery, and that's where I learned that he had no longer had a heartbeat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not know
Thank you. So I was 32 weeks pregnant, and then I delivered my son stillborn that same day. And
the same day that you found out?
Yeah. So
Wow.
I got induced that day and was in labor for about 18 hours. So it was the next day I delivered, but I got induced that day, delivered 18 hours later. And then it was like a different world for me.
Yeah.
It was like something switched inside of me. Like this can't be all there is to life. You know, I grew life. I've lost life. Like it was just something that was like, man, I need change, and I need like super change. So 6 months later, I got pregnant with my second son, he's going to be 7 soon.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, so I stayed at Cars, and then when I came off of maternity leave, my position had gotten given away on me.
They hired somebody in your place while you were on maternity leave.
And didn't give me my position back when I came back.
Wow, that is super assy.
Yeah, it was like like a slap in the face to me because I had worked all the way up until the end of 2 pregnancies. I mean, I was working.
Well, that's probably why they're not in business anymore, right?
Yeah,
it's not Cars anymore
no, it's Josephine's now. So suck on that, Tim Carr.
What happened to you, dude?
So that was it. I was like, something's got to give. And my husband's like, real estate. I'm like,
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. And so I was like,
you were all in.
I was all in.
I
was all in. I was like, I'm gonna be the best realtor in Lancaster. I'm gonna sell 100 houses. I mean, it was obviously a far stretch for the first year, but I was I was rearing to go. And then I got my real estate license, and 5 months later, COVID happens.
Wow.
Yeah. Great timing. Great timing.
That's right before you brought up the COVID bit, I was getting ready to say it's like everything that you just talked about, and that broke my heart to hear that, and I'm imagining that coming back and realizing you no longer have a job, the sacrifices that you made while working, while being pregnant. I'm sure there was this fire under you, like I am the real estate venture was like, I'm going to fucking dominate.
Yes.
But now you're telling me 5 months into that, COVID comes in, so everything gets shut down. Now, this is the umpteenth interview I've done where COVID comes up, and I love hearing, of course now.
Yes.
At the time it sucked. It sucked for everybody, but I love hearing the COVID took place and I had to do this to get to where I am now, because it's such a pivotal moment in our history. And people can forget, like everybody had to stop for the most part.
Yeah.
At the time I worked at FedEx, I wasn't allowed to stop.
Yeah.
I had to keep going. But I do remember that. So share with me now, the 5 months into it, COVID hits and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I'm like, what do I do now? Like, shit. And I was already, 2 weeks after I got my real estate license, my brother and his wife were like, yeah, we want to buy a house. So I got them into a house before COVID hit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Right before COVID hit, I got them into a house. And then I had been working with 2 other buyers at the time. And I was like, COVID hits and they're like, no real estate transactions can be conducted in person. Nothing can be conducted in person. No showings.
Showings.
No showings
wow,
at all.
I never thought about that.
Nope, no showings at all. People were buying houses sight unseen.
Yeah, I remember
Sight unseen.
seeing and hearing about this.
Yeah, I said, you people are crazy because first off, pictures can be very deceiving in the real estate world. Really deceiving.
Yeah.
And they weren't getting inspections. I mean, people were just doing the craziest shit I've ever seen.
Wow.
And so when COVID hit, I was like, do I stick this out? Do I stay? Like, what do I do? Even if I were to apply for another job right now, nobody's working.
Right.
You know, I could go back to the restaurant industry, but they're only doing takeout.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, you know, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to keep going and see where it takes me. And then as soon as they open back up, and we're allowing realtors to conduct business as normal, but with like mask and, you know, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I had people that were like, let's buy a house right now. The interest rates were down. Like people were just itching to go. And I ended up doing so well during those years of COVID that I was like, man, there's no doubt in my mind that I could really do something here.
Gotcha. So you were getting your feet wet with a lot of success.
Yes.
Which can really, that can boost your morale in a way where it's like you can get locked in and be like, okay. And now, because I'm sure at some point were you aware of like, you know, this gold rush is going to slow down and things will start somewhat balancing. I mean, the real estate world has not been the same since COVID in regards to how much people are paying for houses.
Not at all.
But I'm sure you were you? Or, I don't want to speak for you, so I don't want to say I'm sure. But tell me if you were or were you not preparing yourself for that and getting as much education in your success now, because people were buying houses they were buying houses from other states.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they were just coming in and scooping up and so talk to me about that experience. Was it easy for you to recognize what was coming down the road, or were you just like, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in now and see where it takes me?
So I was like, fuck it, you know, let's pull up our boots and let's get this done. My initial thoughts were just a lot of anger and sadness and hurt because of the people that I have known that have lived here their whole entire lives, who have never bought homes. And you know, seeing native Lancasterians not being able to afford rent, and then not being able to purchase homes because they're getting beat out by cash offers from the New Yorker that was like, hey, I'm gonna pay $400,000 for a house that's only worth $275, all cash with no inspections, because I can do that because my house sold for $1.5 million and it was a shack. Like, okay, well, you know, that kind of sucked. But when I came into it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do everything that I can for people. Like, I had clients that we had to put in 18 offers, 18, and on our 18th offer it was accepted, but we stuck it out. I mean, we did what we had to do to get to that closing table, and it was like that for so many people.
Why so many? Why so many? Was it they were getting beat out by somebody else?
They were getting beat out by offers that were, I mean, because people were coming in with more and full cash. They were like, oh, I don't care. I don't care if it appraises. I have all cash, and I will just come in and I'll just buy whatever.
Wow.
And it was crazy. I was like, I didn't expect this, because I thought I was going to come into real estate and it was just going to be normal, like ebb and flow of a real estate market.
You got in at the most peculiar time then.
Yes. Yeah. It was strange. And everybody, you know, agents that have been in the business for like 30 plus years were like, I've never seen anything like this. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to come down at some point. And here we are 3 years later, and it has not come down. It is still just as booming as it was back then. And in certain price points, you're still seeing all cash, no inspections, no appraisal.
See, the no inspection thing, that's mind-boggling to me. How is that? Is the cash? Is that the caveat? With the no inspection? I mean, how does that even happen? I don't know who wants to buy a home without inspection, but I guess if you're going to flip it, or I don't know. Like, when we bought our home, it was like we had an inspection done on top of the inspection that was already done. And now it's like, no inspection. I'll buy it. Haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it. Don't need to inspect it. I don't need it to appraise. I don't care if it appraises. I'm like, okay. So unless you're living in this home for the rest of your life, why wouldn't you care if it appraises? Because you could try to sell it 10 years down the road and you've paid $100,000 more than what it was worth. It's not going to be worth
what's the end game here for this person?
They have no end game. I'm really convinced that it's people that are seeing how Lancaster is going, because we are the new Brooklyn, as the New York Times like to call us. So
the New York Times called Lancaster the new Brooklyn.
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes, we are the new Brooklyn.
What does that mean in New York Times lingo? What does that even mean?
We're on
the up and up?
We are the up and up. We're already like up. We're already up. We're like the place that everybody wants to be. If you are if you're a young hipster, you want to be here. And if you are an empty nester that wants to live an active senior life, you want to be here.
Gotcha.
Everybody wants to be here. And, you know, we have so many great restaurants and so many cool activities to do, and a great art scene, and like a lot of, you know, music and culture. There's so much culture here. And people love that. So they will pay anything to be here.
Wow. I never thought about that, but it makes sense. And I've heard different stories, but they all sound the same now that you're saying that. It's like the eye has been on Lancaster for some time. I grew up in Lancaster. Are you from Lancaster? You said you went to McCaskey.
Yeah, so we moved here when I was 10. So I basically am from here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you saw Lanc when it was not, in my opinion, it wasn't as popping as it is.
It was
now.
It was not popping at all. It was like, you know, people. I remember when people that were not from the city were scared to come into the city. Like they would not. They'd be like, "Don't." I'm not letting my kids go to Lancaster City. Like, no, absolutely not. And now people are like, you know, riding their bikes on Ann Street. Like, hey.
Yeah, one of the things that I like. I have like a push and pull type of feeling is like seeing where I grew up blow up in a beautiful way, because everything you said is correct. There's so much culture. The art scene here is like so many people are being seen, and it's vibrant, and I love it. And yeah, there's a lot of beautiful buildings being built. And then I'm also like, damn, but like there's a lot of people that lived in these homes that are being pushed out, so that they can be torn down and something big can be built. And so like it's like this give and take for me personally, where it's like I love seeing what's going on, but I also hate seeing it in a way. So do you ever deal with something like that as a realtor, because you have a lot more, your eyes are in there?
Yeah, it hurts a lot, because these people that I grew up with, most of them, if they ever do buy a home, they will be the first generation.
Yeah.
And like, to know that they can't even afford to rent a place where they have lived their entire lives, and they have to uproot their whole entire family and move to a different town that they don't know, or even a different state, is like, some people enjoy that. Some people like, to get out and enjoy the new scene, but to kind of deliberately keep people that have lived here their whole entire lives from being in and joining in on all of the new things that Lancaster has to offer, in my opinion, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if we push everybody out, the culture leaves too.
Yeah.
If we're, getting rid of, the lower income people, then all we have is nothing really.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me, and especially because if I get clients that do have a lot of money and they are, they want to be here, I have to act like it doesn't bother me that they're coming here and they don't care who they're pushing out.
Yeah.
And even though I'm super passionate about helping first time and first generation home buyers, I also need to make a living. Yeah. So I'm not going to tell somebody like, I don't want to work with you because you're gentrifying my city.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's
got to be a very convoluting feeling.
It is. And I weigh in my head every day, like, is this worth it? Because it makes me like, man, does it make me sad sometimes? But at the same time, that's why I do what I do, and that's why I create the reels that I create, and that's why I am always reaching out to people that I feel like, okay, look, we grew up together. I know that you've been working at this job for a little while. Even if your credit's bad, we can get your credit fixed and you can buy a home, and we can do this, before it really does become impossible on a price standpoint for you to purchase a home here. Let's get it done now.
Yeah.
And I try to always get people to understand that, like, there is no better time than right now, simply because home prices generally don't go down.
Yeah,
they just keep going up.
This is the new normal.
Yes.
That we're looking at. It seems.
It is. And I mean, at least for now, it is the new normal. You had all those people like, oh, the bubble's gonna burst and it's gonna just...
I admittedly was one of those people where I was like, this
me
can't
too.
last.
Me too. I said that there's no way this can be held up. But I was proven wrong time and time again that this can be held up. So, I mean, and I still think that at some point, like, whatever goes up must come down. But I don't think that we're going to see like a 2008 market crash where, like, you're going to find a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house for $200,000 again. Those times are behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate and this goes back to the information that you're providing when I said you're informative, because I get that vibe that you are giving as much as you can, so that everybody is on the same playing field, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the city, and it is a confusing message that's being sent when they are wanting people to get involved, but the lower income people that are being pushed out, who are predominantly Black and brown people, aren't going to be able to partake. And so it's almost like this, oh, fuck. Damn, man, like, I grew up here. This is dope. This is cool. So I applaud you for using your platform in the way that you are, because you could very well just be like, I'm all in, I'm getting mine, and it is what it is. But to give back in your own way and to say like, I'm here, so let me share the information the best way I can. When did you and your husband Hassan meet?
We met in McCaskey.
Okay, so he graduated also from McCaskey.
Yes, he did. So he graduated a year before me, but my junior year of high school, we had our English class together.
Okay.
And so we met in that class. We were real, flirty and stuff. And by the end of that year, we were together.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you knew like that?
Yes, I knew. I saw him, and I told my best friend that same day, I said, I'm going to hit that before the end of the school year.
We going back old school now. Hit that.
And she said, oh my gosh, he is such a hoe. And I said, I know, but I don't care.
Dang.
And he was a ladies' man.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, he was he was a track star. He played basketball. He was, all these things. He was cool, Mr. Cool Guy. And I said, I don't care. He's gonna be mine.
There you go.
And I said, watch this. And he, now I'm the cool guy, and he's kind of, he is who he is. I'm like, all right, you're cool, I guess.
So have you always been that like confident in your, like, to say, hey, he's mine? A lot of people don't have that type of confidence to approach, especially a woman approaching a man in that regard.
Yeah, I've always been like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I want something, I'll go after it. If I had a thought, I always would go after it. Like, I think that a lot of it stemmed from me kind of like my mom was, she was a teen parent. I was her first child. So I felt like maybe held some resentment towards me just because I was getting to do things that she didn't get to do. And so for me, it was almost like a game. Like I can do all of these things, and I can do them as a single woman. I can do them as a woman in a relationship. I can do them as a mother, because I wanted to make a point that no matter the circumstance, I can always change my thought process. I can always change what I'm doing. I can always do more. I can always do better. And that was just something that I had always felt. And I don't know where the heck that confidence came from.
Yeah.
But as a little kid, I was like the kid that would go up to people and just talk to people. My grandmother always told me, you have the gift of gab. And I was like, yeah, I really do. I will talk to anybody. I'll go up to people. I'll talk to people. I'm really like in your face. Like when I, if I'm feeling the vibe, like it doesn't take me a long time to like feel the vibe of a person. And then I'm like attack mode. Like I'm all on it.
Yeah. You said you don't know where it came from. Is it fair to say that when you mentioned the resentment that your mom had, you think you felt that at a young age, unknowingly, that were you recognizing that, and maybe that's where that like, that fire kind of came from?
Definitely felt it at a young age, because it was always like, well, you can't do that, and I was like, well, watch me do that. And I was always, my parents didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. So, it was like, well, we don't have the money for this, or we can't do this. I was going to find a way to do whatever I needed to do. So whether that was me, getting a job and working, or like, swindling my family members out of money, hey, I need $5 or I need this, just being able to do that. I had just carried myself in this way for a really long time. And even though like through like subconsciously, I still think sometimes I hear that voice in my head, like, oh my God, you can't do this. And I feel it. Some days I'm like, man, can I do this? And then all it takes is that one little spark of of hope, or that one little interaction from somebody else that just makes me like, yeah, like, why am I even questioning it?
Yeah.
You know?
Do you see the relationship that you have? How many children do you have? Just your second son, or?
Yeah, no. Then during COVID, I popped out of COVID, baby.
So did we.
Oh my goodness! So I also have a 2-year-old.
Okay.
And he just turned 2 February 17th, and
Okay.
man, woo, that's a different type of kid right there.
Yeah, they don't do terrible 2s anymore. Just so you know. Well, I mean, you're aware now, but it's like, God, it's like terrible 3s, 4s.
Oh yeah,
it's like it doesn't.
It's like doesn't stop the terribles. The terribles from the birth.
It's
to
just
like,
terrible. Like, I got terrible kids.
They are. My oldest son is like, he's a peach. He's a dream. I'm like, man, if every kid could be like you, he'd be perfectly fine. Then the 2-year-old comes and he bites and he hits and he torments the dogs, and he's wants everything when he wants it. He runs that house. He's like,
go.
man, I want a pouch right now. You better give me a pouch.
I could just picture him clapping his hands when he's talking.
Give me a pouch. I'm ready. I'm ready for that mac and cheese right now, Mom. And I'm like, damn, this is different. And I'm trying to navigate that. Like, he's still new to this world, and I'm like, we still don't know each other like that. You know, we're still trying to figure each other out. And I'm like, man, I thought I was bossy, but this kid, he's got me beat.
Yeah,
he's got me beat. I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, what? Looking at my husband like, why do we do this again?
Yeah,
we thought it was a good idea. My older son was like, I just want one sibling. Just give me one sibling. I'm like, all right, fine. We did it, and now I'm like,
you got the one sibling.
I got and then we're done. And then we're done because, whew.
Yeah, it's a lot. Sometimes I catch myself talking like this in front of people who don't have children, and I feel like I give a bad demonstration, or you know, like it's like,
they feel judgy.
It's like?
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's not really that bad. It's just there's times where I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
I'm trying to talk to your mom.
And you just want to shake the shit out of them, you know, like Bernie Mac said. You want to, what did he say? Fuck, I can't think of that stand up. He said, I won't punch a kid, but I'll choke the shit out of him. That's sometimes that you just want to choke the shit out of them, because like, what, man? But at the end of the day, they're sleeping. When they're sleeping peacefully, you're like, wow, you're the most precious angel I've ever seen in my whole life.
You, God.
Yes, I love you so much. Wow, I couldn't even imagine my life without you. And then they wake up. They wake up and
everything stops. We try to have our coffee early in the morning. It's like, the girls are still sleeping.
Yeah, so it's warm. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, need that. Need that.
But I bring up your children because as a parent, and I would love for you to tell me, as a mother, do you try to take as much as you can from your experience, the experience you had with your mom, and do you have a hard time or an easy time finding the good and the bad, or is it kind of like I'm trying to do things differently because I don't want my children to feel like my mom making me feel like it was a competition?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm genuinely not trying to depict your mother in any
no,
other way,
no,
other
for
than what you shared. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know several people that have this experience, very close to me, and it's hard to not get agitated when you hear that, you know, the mother should be embracing and pushing. You know, I always tell my kids, you better be better than me.
Yeah.
If you're not, I failed.
Exactly.
So I'm assuming that that's the same view that you have with your children.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you try to handle it with them?
Yes, for sure. And like my husband as well, because he, you know, his parents were teen parents as well, and he is the oldest child as well. So we kind of have similar things going. Our mothers, like, you know, they're kind of similar in that way, that like they didn't really know how to be moms as teenagers, you know. So I really want, and I have boys, so I don't know, like, I would hope to think that if I did have daughters that it would be the same way, but I really want my sons to say like, my parents supported me in everything that I wanted to do. No matter how crazy or silly my ideas were, they were pushing me in the direction to follow what I felt was right for me. I don't want to ever tell my kids you have to do X, Y, and Z to be successful, because everybody's view of success is different. You know, not everybody needs a ton of money to feel successful. Not everybody needs a well-paying job to feel successful. Some people really just thrive off of just pure enjoyment of living life on their own terms. And I want my kids, as long as they are not hurting themselves or other people, to live life on their own terms and to really just get the most out of it, because we're not here for a long time. You know, as much as it may seem like a long time, my grandmother used to always tell me, never get old, never get old. And and I'm like, how do you stop that? And she's like, you don't, but it happens so fast that I'm telling you, never get old in your mind. Like never get old in your mind. Always, you know, keep that childlikeness about you. So I always want to be like, I want to have a good balance of like the fun, cool mom between like, you know, the parent that like is making you like stay on your shit at the same time. I definitely am like big on like, you know, respect. And like, I do want my kids to like academically, I am big on like, as long as you try your best, like if you try your best and you get a D, you know, you tried your best.
Damn it, you tried.
Yeah. And that's like with you, like you went to the tutor and you were like doing all that stuff and you still got a D. That's fine with me, because I know for a fact that you tried your best. But if you're not trying your best, that's a problem with me, because we should, I feel like every day be trying our best, you know, or trying, you know, sometimes our best is going to look different every day. You know, some days our best is just rolling out of bed, not doing our hair, only brushing our teeth and keeping pajamas on, you know, the whole day. Sometimes that's your best. And if that's genuinely your best, then fine. But I want my kids to always know that it's, you know, there's a time for play, there's a time for work, there's a time for all these things. And we can sometimes, you know, we can intermingle all of those things at the same time.
Yeah. Do you try to, when you said you try to be there's a balance between being the fun mom, but also being on them to get their shit done, which one do you lean towards more comfortably? Because it's hard for me personally to be I always told my kids, I'll be your friend when you're older, and you're as an adult, we can talk then, you know what I mean? Because I don't want you to get the lines blurry. But then I've got friends that are like, nah, you know, I want my kids to feel like they have, I'm their dad, but I'm also their friend, and I'm always kind of like, I don't know, I don't know how do you feel about that?
So I grew up like my parents both would always say, we're not your friends, we're not your friends on the street, like we're not blah 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 blah, and so that caused me, at least, to keep pretty much everything from them. I really didn't tell them anything, and I was very rebellious. Hence the 17
in college.
Yes. So I was very rebellious, and I was like the, you know, like the problem child, so to speak. So for me, like, I want my kids to be able to talk to me. You know, I want them to be able to be honest with me. And I let my son know, like, as long as you're honest, even you might still get in trouble. You know, there might be a consequence to that, but it will be much less if you are honest with me.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I like to have fun. I like to, you know, I like for my kids to be, you know, we like to dance parties, and we like to do, you know, like fun, like activities and stuff like that. But I'm like, this is a privilege. You know, if I have to start being the hard ass, then, you know, then I will be. But this stuff that we're doing is a privilege, and it is a privilege to have a parent that like is really interested in what you have to say. Like if my son feels like a punishment is too harsh, I will let him come to me and be like, Mom, I think that was too much.
Okay.
Like I think that was like way too much, and like, you know, can this be that instead? Or I'll give him options. Like, you didn't do what I asked you to do, so this can be your punishment, this can be your punishment, or this can be your punishment.
Gotcha.
Choose which one.
Yeah.
Choose your poison.
Yeah.
And I'll let him choose sometimes, because I don't want him to ever think that I'm not giving him a choice in his life.
I gotcha.
So like, for example, like sometimes like the one day he was talking in class, and I'm big on like, you know, you need to respect your teacher. Like these people are here, like they are doing their job for pennies to what they actually should be making. And he's never been bad in school, and that was the first time. And I was like, look, you either get no tablet, you can't go outside, or no TV time. And he had to pick one. Yeah. You know? So I'm like, you can pick one of those. You can pick one of those punishments. But you're going to get that punishment, and it's going to be for the whole entire length of the time that I say the punishment is going to be. And sticking to that, just so that he feels like he has some say. So like I give him a little bit of like, of not authority, but like a little bit of like
he has control.
He thinks he has control over it.
Yeah.
That way he doesn't feel like I am just the worst person ever, that I'm just like, no. My husband has a hard time being like the authoritative parent. Okay. Even though my kids listen to him better for whatever reason. I don't know how that works. But he has a hard time being the authoritative parent. So like a lot of the time I have to be like the mean bad cop.
He feels bad. More, is that what it is?
Oh yeah, he feels bad.
I know people like that where I'm like, you can tell the dads sometimes just don't want to, especially with their boys. Yeah, they don't want to drop the hammer.
Yeah. And he's like, well, you know, my parents never did. I don't. No. Yeah, we're gonna do it different in this house. So
I do appreciate that. I never thought of giving my children choices. It does sound like, and it may just be the way I'm wording it that's kind of harsh, because I am approaching things with my children exactly the same way that you just laid out with yours. I try to, especially with my two oldest are, you know, college and high school, and I'm trying to have more conversations with them that are like very frank. Like, let's just cut the bullshit. Yeah. You know, like, I need you to know you can trust me. If you need me, call me. If you think I'm not going to like what I see, cool. Call me. Yeah. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. Yeah. But you need to know that I'm never gonna put what you did wrong above, are you safe? Are you okay? Yeah. Do you need me? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I try to lay that foundation, but it is like a tug of war with me, where I'm like, all right, like, I love that we can shoot the shit and you can joke with me, but there's times, especially with my son, where he kind of gets a little carried away. And I'm like, and there's times where everybody will go, oh, you shouldn't have said that to your dad. Yeah. And he's like, what did I do? And I'm like, all right, but you kind of came at me. Like, I'm your old man here. Like, there's some rules. You can't knock me in some aspects. Like, when it comes to the job I do and the money that I make, that's off limits.
Don't do it. Exactly. And you're the one that's benefiting off of this shit. So
I do appreciate this conversation. Talk to me real quick. The work that you're doing now, and we discussed it. What is the game plan for you for the next 5 years? Because being a realtor, the work is never done. Everyone's always going to be looking for a home. And so when you couple that notion of this isn't going to slow down or go away with the trying to reinvent yourself and stay vibrant and stay in the know, like what's your game plan here for the next 5 years?
So next 5 years is sell as much as I can. I also want to start investing. Okay. So I mean, and that's also something that I play tug of war with too, because I'm like, investors get this rep of like we're gentrifying, like the investors are gentrifying shit. So for me, it's more like if I can invest in affordable housing, that's something that sounds really good to me, because then I can make sure that people that are low income can stay, and making sure that I can service the community that I know and love. So investing for sure, continuing to sell real estate, and then just kind of seeing where that takes us. My husband is an electrician, so like him and I together, you know, we could really do some things. And I really would like to sell enough that I could retire him from a 9-to-5 so he can focus on building a business.
Nice.
Because he is also like has a very entrepreneurial spirit, and has always been like a hustle type of guy. Like he really is fine with, you know, getting his hands dirty and doing the work and putting in the hours. But he focuses so much on, you know, making sure that the family is good. And I don't want him to lose passion and lose sight of what gets him going.
Yeah.
Because he's so focused on taking care of us.
That's so cool.
So I want to be able to sell enough that I can take care of him for a while so that he can build his own brand and, you know, really just take off that way.
That's so cool. I genuinely appreciate that, because my wife is doing the same thing for me. And it was one of those things where I did commercial electric for 4 years, like 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that hustle and I know that grind.
Yeah.
And I grew up, you know, my father was a blue collar worker. I grew up in a family that were blue collar workers. I have that blue collar mentality.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'll be 44. So it was a year ago when I was like, I've been working at FedEx for 11 years and I haven't been doing anything. And I have all these ambitions and I have all these dreams, but I don't have the time. And so, one, it was a leap of faith on my part. And two, it was having that backing of my wife to be like, I got you, because we took a massive pay cut to do what I do now. I work at Take Towers. I love what I do. I have pretty much a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
No overtime. Weekends are free. And it was like, I have so much time now to pour into this podcast. So I commend you for doing that. I think that speaks volumes. Again, we go back to like the relationship you have with Hassan, where it's like you knew that was going to be your man.
Yep.
And the life that you're living with him, the bond that you have, it's easy to be like, I'll do anything for my lady.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Because I know she won't squander her time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I love sharing that. I love talking about that. But I don't think we hear enough of that, where it's like this I got you mentality. A lot of people that are doing things on their own or business ventures on their own, I commend people that do that. But it isn't always people doing it on their own. There's always somebody backing them up, being supportive, holding shit down.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. It was so nice to meet you and talk to you. Like this, you have the perfect podcast voice.
Oh, thank you.
It's great. Like this is gonna take off. Like
thanks.
Yeah, of course. Like
I'm trying.
We have so many people in Lancaster that like could be interviewed, you know.
I'm trying.
Like,
that's the goal.
So so like this is perfect. You know, I really appreciate you letting me in your space and, you know, asking me questions and listening to my story. And, you know, hopefully the next time we see each other, I'm on the road to getting these things done.
Yeah. And that's what I look forward to, is like maybe in the future, I'll have like a podcast live somewhere, and it's just like, let's catch up with such and such, you know. What I mean? Because it's all about like not just talking to them now and then they're out of my life. It's like, no, I really want to invest in, and I've cultivated friendships from meeting people through the podcast as well. So hopefully we see each other out, also our spouses, and we'll get together maybe and have some drinks. Does that sound like a plan?
For sure.
Right. Awesome. Well, Danielle,
let's
thank you so
see if
much.
you can hang, you know.
I yes, I can actually hang, but I try to behave. I try to behave because
there's no behaving when you're when you're with us. There's no behaving.
I tend to pass out pretty quickly, but I can hang, if that makes any sense. No, I try to stay away from stuff like tequila, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
that's
tequila.
what I'm drawn towards.
Yeah, tequila's the worst for me. I stay away from tequila. I've been kind of drinking, like we'll drink wine here.
Yeah, we do a lot of wine.
I'll drink. I try to stay away from beer, but I will drink beer. Beer for me is like an easy, like, all right, we're gonna go out. That's a social drink for me.
Yeah, it's like one or two. You're good.
Okay, one or two. But if I start drinking, like if I get myself a whiskey sour or something like that, it's like, oof. And especially wine. If I'm out and I'm drinking a lot of wine, I'm like, babe, you gotta drive. Somebody's gotta drive.
Yeah,
because that really will slow me down. So anyway, I don't know how we got in this conversation, but yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right. That's it.
Yes. And that is it. Episode 59 is a wrap. Thank you, Danielle, for stopping by, for sharing your journey. Some things I was not expecting. I did not know at the time the loss of her first son with a stillbirth. So that was news to me. But seeing how her and her husband, Hassan, quickly just gathered themselves and didn't allow that to deter them from pursuing their family, creating a family. And obviously twice since then, she's become a mother to two beautiful boys, Hassan, a father to two beautiful boys. I commend her and her husband both for persevering. Danielle, thank you so much once again. It was great meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you around. Continue with the dope, funny reels. You're good at what you do. The rest of y'all, I will see you next week. Same time, same place, Monday morning. Check me out on YouTube. Check me out on Spotify. Check me out on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music. Y'all be safe, okay? Get your Surtec, get your Mucinex, drink lots of water or Gatorade. Remember to maintain focus and stay continuous through all 4 seasons, especially this one. My name is Felix C. Arroyo, and these are the Journeyman Chronicles. Y'all be safe.